This is a review of Moira on Rialto. Mostly Moira, a little bit of Lucio. Um, so I went through this briefly, and I think there's mainly two things to work on here, um, or two main categories. One is just awareness of when you need to heal and when you can be doing damage. Basically, whenever someone, I mean, this is going to sound obvious, but whenever there's both a need for healing and damage, you should heal first and then do damage. Um, there are a few situations in this game where there are people that are low, but you're not healing them. Um, Either you're like looking at something else or you're right clicking. Um, and I think just being a little bit more aware of who's low and like looking at their health bars, um, or prioritizing getting the heals onto them faster, could have won you a couple of more fights in this, and that definitely would have made a difference in the game. And then in terms of your cooldowns, one thing I noticed quite a few times at least was that you get naded and you have fade up, and you're in a fairly safe position, but you're like kind of low health. But you don't use fade to remove the anti-heal, and then your other healer can't heal you up. Um, so like yes, fade is an important cooldown, and you don't really want to just throw it out, um, at random. But depending on the situation, if you have a debuff on you, like you're getting frozen or you have an anti-nade, or stuff like that, it's perfectly fine to use fade just to remove that effect on you. Um, Even like uh, even if you don't really want to reposition, um, it's fine to use it just to get rid of the thing that's keeping you from getting more value, because you're purple, so then you can't really play as aggressive. You just have to keep in mind that after you used fade, you can't play aggressive positions until you have the cooldown back. Um, but in situations where you're in a safe place, but you're low health, then your low health is what's preventing you from doing like from playing more aggressively. And if you remove that, if you just fade to remove the debuff, then your other healer can heal you up, and you can be more like proactive about healing your team or doing other things. Second thing is your orb use. You use heal orb a lot, and I think that's fine. But I think there are some instances where you like in the middle of a fight you don't remember that you have orb, or it comes off cooldown and you don't notice it. And then there's also some other times when you throw a heal orb, but I think you could be throwing damage orbs and getting like more out of it. Um, and then finally, with your coalescences, um, there were a couple of times where your team grabbed and you had coalescence up and running, and there wasn't really people that were that low, but you didn't like coalescence into the grab. You just kind of like threw it around at people, even though they didn't really need healing. So I think kind of a trend I was seeing overall was that like with your normal left and right click, you should be healing a little bit more. Like you're doing both, but you're leaned a little bit too much toward damage, especially in like critical situations, where the healing is really important. And then with your cooldowns, with your orb and your coalescence, you tend to heal too much, and like sometimes what happens is like you use one of these things, either orb or coalescence, to like do some healing, and then you ignore like, and your team gets healed a bit, but they're still taking damage and they still need more heals. But then you start right clicking instead. Um, so like then it's, I don't know, like it's like sometimes you need both this to be like your cooldowns to be healing, and you need to be healing with your like memory fire. Um, when you're not using your cooldowns, you're DPSing a little bit too much. Um, and then there's sometimes when people don't really need healing, but you're healing with your cooldowns anyway, despite them not healing, or them not really needing healing, and then you're kind of wasting the cooldowns that way. Um, Okay, so we'll walk through like the first 2/3 of this, and I'll kind of go over what I'm seeing here. So you started off on Lucio, that's fine.
Attackers incoming.
Oh, yeah!
Stop the payload.
Audio medic!
Just as good as you.
So one thing is that there's probably a call that they're behind, and I feel like you should have been able to see that rotation. So I guess, you know, just at the beginning of the game, like, breaking the barriers isn't as important. Like, here you're looking behind you, you should be looking at spawn. If you wanted to break those like, barriers, you probably should have done it before the game started. So one thing about Lucio is, because you have the most mobility and you can, like, get into the most places and get out of the most places, you should be one of the ones scouting for the team. So if you were, you know, up there when the game started, you would have seen them walk that way and you could have warned everyone. Yeah, so this is all fine. Your Zarya's kind of in there. When the call comes to turn around, I don't know. I think you should help your Zarya out here, but it's kind of a weird situation, I guess, because of this, like, flank, and you know, it's fine. But your Zarya dies for this. And then you were kind of on speed this whole time. There wasn't any need, because they were coming to you guys, so there wasn't as much need for you guys to be, like, walking around and stuff. So maybe defaulting to heal would be better. But you know, it's like not a huge deal, I don't think, because in general defaulting to speed is better. But like, I guess if you kind of realize the situation is that everyone's standing here and they're coming to you, then you should just swap to heals, because the fight's going to start. And there's nowhere for you guys to go because there's, like, people coming from both sides. The lamp came out too slow also. Okay, so now at this point you should realize that you're down a few people, and your main goal now is to, like, look around and see whoever of your team is left alive, see if you can get them out, and, you know, whether it's, like, just beyond speed or healing them or whatever, helping them get out past the choke, and then you guys can group up and you'll have another fight before the cart reaches the end here. But basically the idea now is to minimize staggers, including your own, and just reset with the team, and you'll get another full fight. So going in here like you did is really bad, because that's the opposite of what you wanted to be doing. Right, like, you see the Hanzo, you can help him get out, that's totally fine. But okay. So, like, at this point you should be like, okay, people are low, they're dying, I need to help people get out, or I need to at least get out myself. Okay, so that sign you're peeling the Reaper, and then at this point, like, the person who was up here in low died, so there's no one left to help, so you should just get out now. But instead you wall right forward into them. That kind of gets you killed. Yep, so those, like, you know, those 2 seconds made the difference between you living or dying, because the Roadhog just got that last shot on you. If you were out, like, you know, faster, you don't die there.
Get behind me. Yeah.
I will be your shield.
Science will reveal the truth.
Get in here.
Guys, I cast this forth.
Okay, so you're on Moira, which is fine. I think Lucio would still be okay here. The benefit of Lucio is you can basically counter the Reaper, not by like fighting him, but by booping him away whenever he wants to go in on your backline. But you just have to make sure you pay very hard attention to that. And then, you know, beat is good counter to Nano Blade. But I think more is fine too. Like it's either way, I guess. Okay, so yeah, so this part, so you get antied. I think it's an okay option here to use Fade to get rid of the purple, but you're like pretty full health and everyone else is purple anyway, so I don't think it matters too much here, but it's like it'd be okay to use that here, I think. But I think what you do here is like pretty fine. I mean, they're ulting, people are purple, they're gonna die, so you're just gonna go play card and die card, which is totally fine. But I think you should realize that you're never gonna live here, right? Because they all just died. It's gonna be 10 seconds before they spawn, and they're not like you're never gonna live until they get a second fight. So your idea here should be more that you're gonna stall cart and then maybe try to get a pick or at least get as much ult charge as you can. And so that's why I don't like this heal orb here. Also, like peeking, I mean they're gonna notice you anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter that much. But you could just like stay here. But this heal orb, I guess two things. One is that okay, so you look right and you throw it up the stairs. I imagine you were looking for bounce, but yeah, definitely like if you just shoot it on this wall, like anywhere like in this area, then it'll bounce in and you can wrap around cart with it. You'll get healed for longer. And then I kind of think that it should be a damage orb here as well, because heal orb is like it's not gonna save you, and like you're gonna get bursted down pretty quickly, so you're not gonna get a whole lot of use out of it. Like maybe it'll heal you for like 50 HP or something, and then you'll be dead because you're gonna get damage through it. Instead, if you just throw a damage orb, like I think there's at least two people. There's the Genji and the Ana. There might be one more. If you throw the damage orb here, it'll stay here on cart, and it'll like you'll probably get the full 200 damage out of it, or at least like pretty close to that, and that'll get you like 7% ult charge or 9% ult charge or something like that. Versus the heal orb, that's not really going to keep you alive, and it's just not going to do a whole lot here. So yeah, so bounce the orb here, and probably damage makes more sense than heal in this specific situation. Yeah, there were like 4 people there. Yep, and if you had used the heal orb and you bounced it here, it would have been on you when you came over here, right? But overall, I think that was a good play. Like, your team's kind of dying, they're ulting, the other team's ulting at you. Like, there's no way you can save them. Just go stall cart, die on cart. I think that's totally fine. Skip a little bit. Okay.
Allow me.
So I like this heal orb. Your rent's low and you see it.
Repair the damage. The seamen need of aid.
Okay. And I don't remember, but I think I told you last time about pre-healing. Basically, after you use your heal spray, there's a lingering heal effect that heals for like I think 30 damage over like 2 or 3 seconds, and that can be pretty useful. So I like what you're doing here is like even though they haven't, well, I mean the Zarya, but she's purple, but even though they haven't taken damage yet, you can just like lightly spray them, and it will apply the after heal effect, and that's just like basically free healing, because like if you just spray them really quickly, you're not really depleting your resource at all, and you're still getting the after heal. So I like that, and I think that's something you should kind of don't do very often in this game, and just something that you should kind of make sure to make a habit.
I am ready.
And you know, you should know that your Zarya is low here, so she was just purpled and on the ground sleeping, so that needs to be a priority here. Just make sure you heal her up. Like, yes, in theory the Mercy could do it, but you're the main healer here, and the Mercy should probably be damage boosting. You know, Ryan if he's gonna fire strike, otherwise one of the DPS. So it's primarily your job to do the top up healing here. Okay, good fade. It saves yourself, and good orb. Let's look at when you got the orb back.
Repair the damage.
Was it basically right there?
The seamen need of aid.
See.
Yeah, okay.
I am ready.
Yeah, that looks perfectly fine. All right, so here's kind of one of the big instances where like you're purple and you can Wraith to get rid of it. Basically these guys are all purple. So your Mercy's, like, she has the beam on them, but your Mercy's gonna realize that she can't actually heal them. You're like 20 HP, which makes it really scary for you. Like, any chip damage, if the Ryan drops his shield for a second, if someone peeks from this window, or like just, I don't know, like any damage around the edges here can kill you. So when you're like this low, you really need health, and the way to do that is just to use Fade. Oh, I guess, well, you don't have it yet, of course. But I guess this is a situation where like Fade would be really useful to take off purple. Let's see how many seconds you have left on this. Yeah, so you got it back, right? But you don't end up using it this whole fight. Not like till after I think the rank gets pushed and you guys have to get out. So you end up using it for movement to get out. But like this whole time, if you had faded yourself, then to get rid of the purple, then your Mercy could heal you up, and that's like one less thing for her to worry about. And then it's easier for you to stay committed in to heal the tanks, and like all that stuff. So it's just easier for you to do your job. Okay, I don't know if that was a reaction to the shatter, but if it was, that's pretty good. But see, like now you end up like everyone's unpurpled now, but you're still like really low, and it's really scary. Any chip damage can still kill you. If you had faded earlier, you wouldn't have, like, that wouldn't be the problem. And I guess just to, so like, let's say you did fade there, right? You got it back. Let's say you did fade here, then the adjustment you do have to make is that you have to play a little bit safer. So you wouldn't be able to stand here, even after you got healed, because you don't have the fade to escape, right? But you could play like, right, there's a doorway right here, and there's a pillar, and there's a corner. So there's this door. There's this doorway, and there's this like pillar here. So you could play here, or you could play like right behind the pillar as well. Your team's backing up anyway. They'll back up into you. And yeah, so, and the Mercy can heal you, and then it'll be easier like for you to do other stuff and still be safe. Okay. Then did you just get your orb back? Yeah, okay. So that's really good awareness of your cooldowns. So that's really great. Healing here. So keep in mind who died, it's your Rhine, and their Rhine is still up, so they have a big advantage here. So just be thinking of like getting out here. So you're backing up. There's two ways. There's like the doorway behind you, or there's this cover here. This cover's closer, and like from there you can go to the arch under the bridge. So like as you're backing up here, I would prefer if you went this way to be in cover. You guys aren't really going to be able to contest very well until your Rhine gets back, because they still have a Rhine, and you can't damage them, but they can damage you. I think going up these stairs is not the worst idea. It's better than staying in the open, but it's a little bit risky still because yes, you're in cover, but once they push up, like you have nowhere to go. You have no like fallback plan. So either starting to go right, then you can back out to the under the bridge, or there's a mini all the way over there. Or if you just keep backing up and play the doorway behind you, then you can hide inside the room, right? The reason why going right is better is because the cover is right here immediately, versus like this you still have to like go in and then go out or go to the side. So it's a little bit farther, and like to like contest them from here, it's like exactly where they're looking. Whereas if you're contesting from this side, then if your team's over here, it's kind of splitting the vision. But in any case, like just kind of be aware that your Rhine died, their team's alive, so you need to be playing safe here. So just backing up is not enough. You need to back up and find cover because you have no shield anymore. So you're kind of playing stairs. Again, this is like really scary because she could sleep. He has a hook, so those are things that can kill you in one shot essentially. If she sleeps you, then they can like follow up together and kill you. And like if you get slept, then he has a free charge or whatever. So your team went right. I think that's the right move here. Just go with them. You're damaging here. It's not like these aren't really targets you can kill because they're all alive and they have this shield, right? Ryan can put up shield at any time. So this damage is kind of useless, and you're not you can see the health bars here, so you know that they need healing. But like in this situation, you need to look right and like check and make sure, because like in the game you don't know if they need healing, right? But here you're prioritizing your damage over the healing, and it's because you're not aware of that they need healing. But if you never look, you can never be aware of that. So you just have to look, and then if you did look, I imagine you would probably go heal them. But you have to think to look, and that's kind of like the first point I was talking about at the beginning, is just being aware of like situations when you need to heal, and like having kind of if you're prioritizing your job being healing, then it's very obvious to like look first. But if you're not thinking about it, then you just like kind of tunnel vision and look forward. So yeah, so just try to like always be aware of that like prioritize healing, and part of prioritizing healing is checking if your team needs heals or not. And even if you looked and they didn't, like at this very moment, I would still like every like 2 seconds or so, I would still like always look and see if your team is going to need healing, because it's fine to, it's like you look, they don't need healing, it's fine to damage, but if they're not in front of you, then you need to like keep checking occasionally, every couple of seconds, to update the status, because as soon as you like, if once they need healing, that becomes your primary responsibility. So you need to like check in order to know whether you're able to damage or not. I like this coalescence. So you're healing. A bunch of people are low and you're healing it up. And you faded to a pretty good position first. and I guess you also used orb, so that's pretty good. Like it's always good to orb before coalescence, but because by the time coalescence runs out, you're gonna have orb back. Okay. So I think in this situation, basically there's only one person to heal, and so this can be a damage orb, or like there's only, or this orb can only heal one person. I guess is the better way to put it. So if you're gonna throw it this way, it should be a damage orb, because it's gonna have a lot more impact, and your coalescence should probably be able to keep your Zarya alive. If you're gonna throw a heal orb, because you did see that a few people were low over here, I think throwing a heal orb this way and then coalescing this way would be like even better probably. But if you're gonna throw an orb this way, then damage orb makes more sense. Then I think your Zarya grabs. Yeah, so she grabs. You've got her up to full. These are the targets you can kill with. You can kill like at least 2 of them with coalescence. I think there's 3 in the grab. But yeah, right. Like you're healing people that didn't need heals. When you started healing them, now they kind of need heals, but they're purple, so you can't actually heal them. So if you just keep applying the damage, you plus the Zarya plus the Hanzo can kill these guys. And actually, even if they're not doing damage or if there's a shield, your coalescence will kill the squishies. So and your mercy could, in theory, damage boost you. So this is kind of a case of like overhealing with your cooldowns. Also the heal orb that you threw, because you threw it this way, those cooldowns could be used for damage in this situation. And then you can use your coal to keep your Zarya up and then do damage once she's full. Okay, and you flick over this guy, but he's still purple. If he wasn't, I think that's fine. Like, I would still say maybe like damage is more important, but it's pretty close. But because you can see he's still purple, like no reason to flick him. And then your target for this coalescence now like is the Roadhog, but these are the squishies, right? Just make sure you're shooting at the people that can die to this, because just applying damage is like fine, but it's not great. Getting the kills is a lot more higher impact. And I think it's their 2 supports here too. Okay, and then still here, like you can't kill this hog. These guys may need healing because they're still fighting. Like there's like 1 or 2 people left here, so just kind of it's fine to like right click them, but I think you should walk forward so that if they do take a lot of damage, you're in position to heal them. So just prioritize this over this. Like you can do both at the same time by like walking toward them while right clicking him, but you don't want to just focus on this because you can't kill him. He has breather, like without like a lot more damage, other people shooting him, he's not gonna die. So and like if these guys die, then you probably lose this point, just even though you currently have it 1 because they have really close spawns, or no, they haven't kept yet actually. So okay, so they have pretty far spawns actually, but it's still like you're gonna be kind of disadvantaged if these guys die. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so yeah, so I like this. You're fading to keep up with them, and helping them push. Okay, this is good. I assume he's being called out, or well, I guess maybe he's not being called out because the tanks don't know. But if he dies, it's his own fault.
This will improve your condition.
Get behind.
Okay. So the damage orb, it's a good idea here, but I think you kind of do it really riskily. Okay. So let's see when you got it back. Okay. So at this point, you know the hog's up here because you end up like going here and trying to see if you can right click him. Just throw a damage orb at him. And then if it starts doing damage, then you know where he is. Like if you throw it up, into the bridge area, then if it starts doing damage, you'll know he's there. Otherwise, you can assume he went this way. Um,
This will
okay, and then so now you're gonna look for this damage orb, but you kind of step out like all the way over here to look for an angle. Whereas which is pretty dangerous because like then there's like this amount of space before you can be in cover. So it'd be much better if you just like came up to the corner and like corner peeked to throw it, because the animation is pretty fast. And the other option actually is just to not even come around the corner. You can throw it into the you can maybe step to your right a little bit, and you can throw it at the same wall, like this wall thing under the bridge, and it'll bounce. And you can get pretty good travel time. And you know that the enemy team, if there's anyone coming, they have to cross this area. So that can be a pretty good, like if you're just chucking damage orb for poke, that's a pretty good place to put it. And it's like much lower risk. So
improve your condition.
and just like remember your cooldown earlier. Like all this time you spent, like you didn't throw it up when you were in there. This time that you're spending here, like this could have gone out, and then you'd probably have another one back by the time the fight starts.
Get behind me.
Okay, and yeah, so like you can throw it this way off the wall. You can just chuck it at the Rhine. It's like they're kind of split and respawning, so you're never gonna get like a 6-man with it. Just like getting some damage off of it just to get a couple percent is enough. Yeah, but you're stepping like all the way out here, and now this is pretty dangerous. You do have Fade, so but like it would kind of suck to burn Fade just to get out here. Or it'd be okay, but suboptimal.
This is my will.
Okay, so you bounce it off the wall. I think that's not a bad idea, actually. But you could do the same thing from the corner, right? Like you don't have to step all the way out to do it. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. So you end up like trying to bounce it. I'm not sure if it was off this or off this. So that's actually like that makes sense because they're gonna have to come over here at some point, and it's gonna kind of be in their line of travel. But you can do the same thing from like if you just hug this wall and come out here, right? You don't have to be like out in the open like this.
This is my will.
Also, I think your aim was a little bit too high on it because it's gonna bounce like over and then it's gonna come back, but it's gonna go up slightly, and it might be over their heads. So just a very small adjustment there, but that's a pretty good idea. You can do the same thing, just safer.
Activated.
My thanks.
Okay, so you look for the second orb. If you had thrown the one earlier, this could be a third orb. You don't see where they are. And then you kind of get distracted by this Genji. So I think right-clicking him here is a good idea. You want to force him out. But once he dashes,
My will.
like once he does that, he's out. Like he can, like there's no way you catch him here. So as soon as you see him dash out, then you can turn and go back to your team. And you heard the other team starting to come in. You don't know exactly where they are or where your team is. So it might like they may need healing, and you need to like look at them and check. So it just, I think it takes you a couple seconds to turn around.
Will made real.
Yeah. They do need healing. So like basically I think if you like turning on the Genji and just making sure he has to get out is fine. I think it would be equally fine to like just stay with your team and like just know that the Genji's back there and like kind of be aware of that and turn on him if he comes in, because he wasn't doing a whole lot there. So either of those are fine. But if you do the play where you force him out, then you just have to, as soon as he like uses the dash and gets out, you need to turn back around and help your team, because this is highest priority. So either just stay here or like do something else for a little bit, then come right back. Either is fine. But just make sure you're kind of aware of your team and like prioritizing being able to heal them when they need it.
Heroes never die.
Okay. Just fading to reposition here behind your tanks. I think that's totally fine. So you're half now. You're half now. Okay, so you do use the healing orb, so that's good.
This will restore.
I really like your balance of healing and damage here, and especially with the pre-heals on the Rhine. But just make sure you're not going past the shield. Or if you do, then play like right here on the cart, so you have cover. This is all good. You're right-clicking a little bit too much now. You can use health here. And you can pre-heal the Hanzo again, so you can just like flick heals over. Or, you know, well, you should probably heal the Rhine a bit more than just flicking, but
Step right.
okay, I like the damage orb. Okay, now you switch back to healing. So you are like swapping back and forth. Just make sure you do it like more often and have the default be heals. And when you see that people don't need heals, then damage. But don't just like default damage and only heal when you see that they really need heals. And the Rhine's still kind of low here. Just more healing here. Okay, like Ryan's trying to make plays, and this is his job. Like he should be doing this, but he should be doing this with more health because you should have given him more health. And it's not like you were low on resource or anything. You're like almost full, basically. So like if your Rhine dies, like you may not lose this fight, but you're at a disadvantage for the next fight, and that would be entirely your fault. But luckily he didn't die. I guess you guys do have res, maybe, but it's still better to have res for the next fight rather than using it on your Rhine.
Double.
Bad guys, heads up.
I'm on fire.
So that's a situation where I think it'd be okay to fade in. Like it's very rare that you should fade in because then you're stuck, right? But in this situation, because a lot of them just died, I think it's safe to fade in, and it's pretty important to keep your Zarya alive. So like once he was like really low, you did focus heals on him, which is good.
Double.
As soon as you look over here, you're like, oh, she took a huge shot. I think now you can hit that fade, get in, play the corner, so that you can always back up a little bit if you need cover. But like just fade up here and like he'll pocket the Zarya. And the reason why it's safe to fade forward is because all these people died.
I'm on fire. Everyone follow me. My ultimate is ready.
Okay, yeah. So this is kind of the angle I was talking about. You don't have to be this far up, but like this is like the perfect spot. If you're further back toward the bridge, you can still get a angle onto this wall. It's not it's not quite as wide, so this will bounce like this. If you're back there, maybe it'll bounce like that, but it's the same idea. And like that one's a lot safer. Here, I think it's totally fine because they all died. They're spawning. Like there's absolutely no danger to you. So I like this, but just like earlier, you could have kind of gone for the same thing. rather than stepping out.
Get behind
Yep, that's fine. So mid fight or like between fights, just kind of be aware of this and that you have it, and like try to make a plan around it. So if you hit tab, you can see you have grab. Maybe say, hey, let's grab Cole, or say like let them push in, I'll coalescence, and then we can look for grab or something. Like just like this is your ult, so you're in charge of making a plan around it. And like telling other people how you want to use it, so that they can kind of plan accordingly.
Greetings.
I'm restored.
Okay, so I think it's fine to like tap heals, because he doesn't need heals urgently, and their after heal will do some healing and you'll save resource. But I think you do need to kind of make sure he gets to full. Like tapping heals is fine, but you need to like re-tap and like make sure he's closer to full, because the enemy's coming in, so the fight's gonna come pretty soon. Yeah, okay.
Help me.
Here I think the orb is aimed a little weird. I think you can put it on the same spot you put it before.
Help me.
Yeah, so you can put it on this thing again. I think it ended up in the room maybe, but that's fine. Using cold to peel the blade. I mean, it's not a bad idea. Although Cole will never heal someone through blade, so if someone gets gone on by the bladed Genji, like they're gonna die. Like it's not like Transcendence. And even Transcendence, technically Genji can kill, Nano Genji can blade through it. But definitely Cole isn't gonna do a whole lot against the Nano Genji. But I think it's okay in that it pressures him a lot, and it heals up any spam damage that their team's gonna do to your team. What I don't like here, so the Cole I think is totally fine. It's not like it's not gonna counter this exactly, but it'll help your team stay alive if they deal with the Genji, basically. But what I don't like here is that you Cole from in here, where you don't really have much of a view, and you're really close to the Genji. So when you basically the Nano Genji can't kill you just by slashing you once and then dashing you, because he's nanoed. So like this is actually a pretty scary place to Cole, because he's so close. And you still have this fate. So I think it might have been slightly better if like you were over here. I think if you just faded all the way back to like that the wall with the arches, and then you Cole from there, and then you have better vision on your team. You'll be able to see the Genji. Hopefully, you'll be more than a dash away from him, and you'll just like be in a better position to like put the coalescence on the targets that it needs to be put on. Because from in here, like if your Genji goes after your Mercy, who I think is like over here-ish, then you're not gonna have sights until you come out. And when you come out, then the rest of them can see you, and they have, well, they don't have any stunts, but they have a sleep maybe.
Surrender.
But the nano comes out, or the grab comes out, so that's really good. You're trying to heal the Zarya, but she dodges you. Oh, it's fine, that's good. Yeah, I think your target prioritization there was pretty good. Let's look at it one more time. So it's the Genji first, then you're trying to heal the Zarya, she just dodges it. Then you're on the people in the grab, which is good. And slow, he's dead, nice. And then you're go back to healing. Okay, yeah, so I think that Cole is like perfectly, like, it was a good use. The place that you started it from maybe could have been slightly better, but I think it was good overall. So Reaper far right. Okay, I like you're kind of switching off healing and damage as needed. So like when the Ryan gets a bit low, then you start healing him. And what's really effective for Ryan against Reaper is the armor health, because it reduces damage from like small instances damage by a lot more. So by keeping him in the armor health, you really reduce Reaper's damage. I think by like 20% or something like that. So basically, yeah. So like prioritizing keeping Ryan up with his armor health is like really good here. So you're doing that, so that's good. And I like the damage orb as well. Basically, if you need to, you can just pocket him by left clicking, and this deals damage to everyone. So like what I wouldn't want to see is a heal orb and then right clicking. Basically because well, for one, the heal orb does less healing per second than this, and and because there's more than one target, the damage orb does more damage than just right clicking one target. So so this is really good. Damage orb and heal. I don't know if that shatter was needed, but you know. It's a little scary here because you're kind of low. Okay, you orb. So I'm assuming the idea was that you're gonna bounce it off the wall, and it's gonna come back at you. You could do the same thing with this wall, and also like this direction is probably more where you're gonna want to go, right? Because you guys already picked 2 or 3 of them, so you can kind of fight them. You're probably gonna want to chase. So I would like to see the heal orb go this way rather than sideways, because then it heals as you go into them. Whereas this heal orb is just gonna stay up here, but if you drop, then you don't get the benefit anymore.
I'm on fire. You'd be wise to stay out of my sight.
If it was a situation where the fights was more even, so maybe like you got it 2 or 3 picks, but they also got a couple picks, then it might be the case that you do want to stay up there, and I think then in that case the sideways orb is better. But in this situation, that's not the case.
Power grows. I cast this forth.
Yeah, just make sure you top off the McCree. You can do a little bit earlier. I don't know if you really want to turn your back to them like this. You could be kind of lining up your next orb, and also like you just don't know what's coming behind you. If you're just gonna walk back the team, you can go through the door that was over there. Like walking forward is slightly faster than walking backwards, but in this case, like you just don't want to get like headshot or something. Yeah, so if you're just gonna walk, you can go in here. If you're gonna go this way, I think you should be facing them.
Behind her.
Okay, yep, like the orb. You did kind of see that someone was sleeping out there, so maybe helping them would have been good. Or just like making sure, like staying a little bit closer so that you can heal them if they need it would have been good. I like the orb. Just careful, unlucky. Fade out, and then I'm not sure if you're gonna pull here, but I think you can. So try to turn it. You guys only lost 1. You have a bunch of ults. So this should be winnable, and you can call to kind of help enable that to happen. I like the balance of healing and damage there. You Cole. I think this is fine. You could have done it a little bit earlier also, but this is fine. And then just make sure, like, this is a perfect lineup of like doing damage and healing at the same time. Just a little bit slow. That's fine.
30 seconds.
So you win this fight.
This is not your time.
Nice. Okay. It's a little unfortunate. Your team used like 4 ults there.
30 seconds.
So it was the Cole, Mercy ulted,
My will.
Step right.
High Noon, and then the Dragon was like definitely too much. The High Noon maybe was even too much. Well, I think the High Noon was fine. But yeah, definitely the Dragon was too much. But that's kind of out of your control, I guess. So, well, it's something you can calm. Let's look at who you were shooting that whole time.
Surrender to my
Okay, the Ryan
Step right.
target. I guess basically while he's ulting, he's a huge target, so you don't need to heal him until he's getting damage. But it should be kind of in the back of your mind that like if they start going on him, you just flick it to him to keep him alive until he pulls it off. And the Zarya. Yeah, I think that's all fine. I think in some cases, like it might be better to shoot the squishies, but the Zarya was kind of out in front of your whole team, and it definitely looked like everyone was focusing on her. So I think that's good. If the Zarya was like further back or like not kind of in the middle of everyone, then it might have been better to focus the squishies that were over here on the side. Just because they're more likely to die. They don't, they might not have a cooldown to save themselves, and they have lower health. But
This is
that
not
situation,
your
I think
time.
it was pretty good.
My ultimate is almost this ready. Is my will.
Bad guys. Heads up.
But this fight's gonna be hard because you guys use a bunch of your ults,
Slowly they
or
realize
like all your ults. Yeah, I guess you should kind of know that they're coming this way because you didn't see them come in the room. So you should be probably over here and like deciding whether you need to drop or not. Sorry, it's all out of the shoot. You fade out here, which is good, but then going on the Ana, you can't really kill her that fast until you have your damage orb. So fading out, it is 2 seconds, but you can't kill her yet. And the rest of your team, they're in the grab because you just faded out of it. So I think healing them is higher priority right now. Like yes, the Ana is important, but not like, I don't know, like keeping 3 people alive is more important than killing 1 healer most of the time. And I think your Mercy could have survived through it if you had been healing. The Ryan has shield, so they're not taking damage from that end. Then here, again, you're doing damage, but these people need healing. They really need healing. And then they get the blade out. So yeah, basically if you had healed the grab and then healed if you had healed the grab, the Mercy would probably still be alive, and then if you healed like these guys a little faster, there's a chance you win. Like maybe you still lose that because they got the blade out, but definitely like this way you're definitely gonna lose. The other way you have a chance. And it's a little unfortunate that you're sorry I wish you grabbed as well.
Science.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
That changes my thinking.
Charging.
Enemy is here.
I like I think the damage orb is fine here, basically forcing the tracer out. It's a good idea. think you should use Fade here. The reason why I think you should use it a little bit early, like don't wait till in this situation, because if you wait till you're low to use it, then the only way you can fade is out basically. I guess you could technically go to the Mega, but it's pretty risky. Because like anywhere else you go, you're gonna be like really easy to kill. So if you just fade a little bit earlier and avoid damage, it'll be like you'll have more options to like avoid the Winston. Whereas once you've taken a lot of damage, once he's like forcing your fade, there's only really one way you can go, and he might get jumped back, and he'll be able to jump you. So if you fade it a little bit earlier, you'll be fairly certain that he's not going to have jump yet. So that's kind of like another small thing. But two people die, so hopefully you don't Cole here. But you know, you can follow up Shatter with Cole if it's needed. It's a pretty good ulti combo with Shatter, but like you don't need it here, so hopefully you don't use it. Your Ryan's really low still. You need to focus him. Like you have half resource still here. It's not like you don't have any resource left.
I'm restoring you. My will made
Orb is good.
real.
Okay, and then you should be kind of thinking again between fights. You know you have this tab and see who else has what, and then make a plan with it. So I don't know whether it's just like, hey, I'm gonna Cole when they come through bridge. Mercy, make sure to damage boost me, or you know whatever like the plan is, or I'm gonna Cole when they come through and let's rush them hard. Like any of that is fine. Yeah, but just like you have Coalescence, you're in charge of making a plan for it, and you're in charge of letting everyone else know so that they can play around it as well.
You seem to me brave.
Okay, I like the orb forcing out the Tracer again. Good.
Our inevitable victory.
So like once they start pushing through here, once they're like past this line, it's pretty hard for them to get out because they have to go all the way back out before they have cover. So this is kind of a good time to start thinking about Cole. And so when the monkey's on you, Cole I think gives you like 70 health per second, or it might be 60, or it might be 80. But basically, it like having Coalescence up counters out the Winston's damage. So that can be another trigger to use Cole, especially because their team is pretty pushed in now. So they're not going to be able to get out very easily. This will give you mobility and self-healing to survive the Winston. You can ignore him and just like help your team crush the rest of his team. So now also might be a good time for Coalescence. You're healing people through a bubble, which doesn't work. You have Fade up also. You're gonna Fade and you okay. Then we got 2 picks, so I guess that's fine.
I'm on fire.
Okay. If you're aware of the time here now, you know they only have a few seconds left. Again, make a plan for this.
10 seconds.
Slowly they realize that failure is all there was.
I think this is where you guys see 9. 12%.
Огонь по готовности. This will heal.
Yeah, you just kind of get caught out, but
That failure is This will heal you. I'm on fire.
Let's see. I wonder
Slowly
if...
they realize that failure is all there was. Surrender to my will.
Okay, so this call is a little too ambitious, I think. Basically, like it doesn't really slow them down. I guess maybe it's just like a celebration coalescence, but you know, I think if you had it 10 seconds from now, maybe you win that fight. But like, I think it's a fine idea for the team to push up here, but they don't need this yet, and you should save it until they need it. And then if you do use it, try to focus the low targets, or the squishy targets, not the Zarya. Healing the Rhine is fine, but you can step over a little bit and line it up also. Right, like this guy is more important, or like a lot easier to kill than this guy, and he's also more important to their team, like overall, like longer term fight wise.
This will heal you.
Sorry, kind of wasted grab into a lost fight again. You guys probably had time to recontest. That's also unfortunate. But you know, if you had Cole after you faded back to the team here, you probably like at least people will stay alive a lot longer at least, and maybe even the fight. But yeah, you know, like you guys didn't expect them to be able to touch. And I think pushing up there is the right idea as long as you're sure everyone is dead. So it was just a little unlucky there, but you could have saved the goal as well to like maybe turn the fight at that. Okay, then I'm gonna go through just a little bit of this next part. I think the ideas are broadly the same. Basically, like just make sure that healing is your first priority, and you can do damage anytime you don't need to heal. But when there's someone who's taking damage or is at risk of dying, you absolutely need to heal them and just be more aware of where your team is and how much health they have, and then kind of a little bit of improvement on the cooldown still.
Power of destruction. Allow me.
It's all fine. Once you see that Zarya's used bubble, you should know that you might need to heal her, and I wouldn't recommend like going up there because it's pretty dangerous, but you can play like right here on cart and you'll be pretty close to heal range here. Like I think doing the damage is fine as well, but you can still be in a safer spot to do it, and then it would prevent Bad Rep from having to hold the shield up the whole time. Yeah, so like you could have been kind of doing that the whole time, which is staying on that back corner of the cart. You should still be able to right click the shield. Like if you're standing basically where the Rhine is right here, you should still be able to see the top of the shield to right click it, and you maybe have sights here, and you'd be a lot safer also. Because right now they can see you over the shield. So like right when you started healing the Zarya, I think that's a really good spot. You can stay there. I like the idea of the damage orb here. You can also throw it down main because there's two people there. That's fine. You can see that the Rhine shield is low and you hear it break. When they charge this rock, you need to fade here. Good heal. Yeah, so then in that situation, your Ryan's purple, so you can't heal him, so I think it's fine to do damage. Once he's unpurple, you should be healing him again. Nice try with the orb. Okay, you should be backing up now. Okay, good. And I think you guys kind of roll the next 2 fights. Nice. This, I think this Zarya's pushed up a little too far. But what, I mean, you do have Fade, so it's I'm not gonna say good or bad, but it's at least an option for you to walk up with her and heal, and then once you get low, you can fade out. Like, just make sure you fade back and then into that room where the mini is. But it's an option. Like, I think your Zarya's pushed up too much, but like without the Rhine being there, I think if more of the team was here, this would be actually a really good idea. But you know, I think you have a choice here. Either way is okay. It's go and support her, and then use Fade to get out when you need to, or just like play safer, but like tell her that she can't push that far. There's a sword. Okay, so you do get out. That's good. But sorry, I like really hard committed. Apologize for that. You have Cole coming up. Okay, so this is a. I think you can Cole here, and this is really good because you fade back first, right? Gives you sight lines, and it puts you far enough away from the Genji that he can't like dash and then slash you. So even if he gets nano, he's gonna have to kill at least one more person first before he can come at you, and you'll be able to like get coalescence value in that time. So this is good. Nice. I think you can help your team push up here, because you got killed, right? So, you can walk up with this coalescence. You don't have to play behind the cart anymore. The cart, it takes like a second and a half to kind of unlock after reaching the point, before it'll move again anyway. So you guys can all push up and try to get the stagger kills. And I think you could be like, if you had come up, you could have been applying damage and healing at the same time. Here you're primarily focusing on healing again with your cooldowns, which is fine given your position, but if you had walked up, you could be doing both, and it would be better. You have orbs here, you can throw damage. Here, I think this is good. Basically, like in theory, you could help Ryan, right? But it's literally only him and Orisa. He's not going to die to her. He pretty much has full shield, I think, because he wasn't using it a whole lot while walking up. And this is a very killable target. So here, I agree with kind of doing damage here first before turning to help and maybe heal him. And like the Orisa can never kill the Rhine because when she's shooting, her movement speed is slowed down, and he has a massive shield, right? So he can't, like, if it was like a hog or something, then in theory the hog can like walk through Rhine's shield and like damage him through it, or like a really hard charge Zarya or something. But because it's an Orisa, she can't kill the Rhine, so it's fine to ignore him for now. Good, and then he comes back. Good. You heard a soldier.
My ultimate is
I'm escorting the
Here,
payload.
Genji.
Let's keep it moving.
Like it's pretty unlikely that you can catch them, but you should at least like look and see where those sounds are coming from, just in case. Maybe they're low or something. Okay. I like the damage up here.
The power of destruction.
So you're still hearing the soldier sounds. So just like try to look around and like see where it's coming from. Okay, so here again, like your purple, you have fade. You just killed a bunch of people here. You could fade this way, and then turn the field around here. You'll be behind the tanks, essentially, from where the rest of their team is. So I think using this here would be probably good. You still have this orb that you haven't used. Oh, okay, and then here, like, really need to heal him. The orb by itself is not enough. You need to both, like, because he's like so incredibly low, you need to both heal primary fire and have the orb. Then he dies because only use the orb. Yeah.
We must all make sacrifices in the name of science. A touch from afar.
I like the idea there, but you kind of like. So taking all this time to go here and throw the orb and then go back, I think that's a little bit too much. Like here, you're just trying to get trip damage and build your ult, so it doesn't have to be like the perfect orb. You can just keep walking across the bridge and you could toss it against the wall here under the bridge, right? So like this wall here, just bounce it that way, and you'll probably get some chip damage. And that's like enough. You don't have to like make this long movement. So it kind of puts you behind your team as well. And yeah, then you end up having to use Fade to catch up. Which is, probably okay, but still better to have it. Team's really split. Generally, I would say, like, shields like this, basically, if there's a couple of people here, like, behind the shield, then it's fine to right-click it, as long as, your team doesn't need healing, which in this case is true. It's fine to right-click it if there's, like, people behind it. But here, in this case, there's no one here. They all backed out, right? So instead of spending time right-clicking this, just walk through it with your Rhine, and then, you can right-click the people that are over here, because they're not going to have a shield. So basically, spending time on this shield, because there's no one on the other side, is wasted. And you could be doing other things like looking at where the rest of your team is. You could be maybe pre-healing your Rhine a little bit. You could be throwing an orb. You could be right-clicking damage on whatever is over there. Okay, so I think doing some damage there is fine. No one needs healing. Swapping. You fade out of it. And then Cole. Okay. So the Ana is the correct target. It's just a little scary that you're dueling her like from right in front of the D.Va. You have Fade because you guys got quite a few kills here. I think it's fine to fade in and take the 1v1 with Ana. I guess you don't want to get too close because then she can nade both of you, but this is like really dangerous fighting her from here. Fitting in is better, or if you think fitting in is too dangerous, then just fight the Orisa. Also is fine. Back up a little bit. And again, like target priority with the coal. The squishy targets, there's one here, one over here. This guy dodged out of your line of sight, so that's fine. You can still aim at the Ana here. Okay. And then, I guess, like, seems like you threw the orb at the Ursa. If you had thrown it at the Ana, then like fading in would be really good, right? Because she has both the orb damage and your right click, and she's definitely gonna die. So I guess in this case, if you took just another like second or two to figure out where you want to put the orb, that might be slightly better. But I do like the orb damage. Yeah. Oh no. Okay. So now you get in, but it's too late because they're having spawns come back, and now it's really dangerous for you. You might still get this kill, but like it's definitely a possibility that you die here, especially if she has nade and she nades you, and the Genji's right there. He can dash for another 50, and that does like 120 total or 110 total, and then they just need like a couple of shots on you to kill you, and you have no cooldowns. So yeah, the time to fade was like immediately when she's alone. Once you've kind of waited, once you've kind of waited a little bit too long, then you can't use the fade in anymore. You have to just let her live, or like walk in and then fade out. Right, you can keep walking and force her out. You guys will get the cap because she's not gonna be able to heal the Orisa very well. And then if she lands a shot or two, you can fade out and come to this corner and be safe. Because you didn't commit the fade earlier, she's no longer kind of a target you can kill. Once you see a second person there, that's should be kind of a warning sign, I guess. Because then also, once he's back, that means that whoever died next after the Genji is like probably right over here, and they're gonna be coming in as well. Oh, yeah. So she nades you, and then the two of them can kill you pretty easily. And he still has dash too, which is another 50 damage there. At any time, it's pretty much instant. But you guys win the fight anyway. You had a bunch of hits, so hopefully you win the fight.
When faced with a setback, we must challenge our assumptions.
Maybe? No? No. Okay, so you fading in there actually lost you guys the fight. Or you fading in at that time, I guess. You had faded in earlier and killed Ana, I think you win. If you once there were two people on the screen, you needed to not fade, and I think you still win because you guys can wipe the Ursa, and then you have healing to back up on the blade. But once it was too late and you still faded in, then that lost you the fight.
The payload is open.
This is my will.
Don't worry, my friends. I am your shield.
A little bit. I like the damage orb. Alright, so I think you don't want to take this fight. You want to mainly heal the team. Unless someone calls that he's really low, then you can apply some damage to help finish him. But you can be safe here just by walking under here. You don't need to be in his line of sight. Remember, he's not going to miss because he has tech visor on. So you're going to die pretty quickly, especially with the damage boost. So I would say just fade in here. If he wants to kill you, he's going to have to drop, and then you guys can all kill him. But while he's on high ground, you just don't want to be in his line of sight. You want to be under here. You can keep healing the team because they're going to need it as well, right? Because he's going to be shooting them if you're not here. And you can help them live through it. Yeah, so you died with fade up. Okay, but they used 3 ults there. So, it's, it's actually not terrible because how they have 3 less ults.
Touch from afar. Injured again.
Is tucked. Get it moving.
Pathing wise, I think you guys probably need to force them off high ground. So you need to go the back stairs and up. Because when you path this way, like the only way to get to the high ground is all the way around and then up the stairs, and that just like it's almost impossible. So whoever's posting up there is gonna be able to stay up there pretty much forever. I guess technically you have to get people that can like kind of go on them, but you know they're gonna have a shield, they're gonna have like heals and stuff, so it's gonna be really hard. So I think it'd be better if you guys came high ground and pushed them off and then engaged.
My ultimate is ready.
Okay, good free healing. Yep, good swapping back and forth. Yep. Just make sure you get a little more here. You kind of actually ended up healing when he was full and holding up shield, and then not healing once he took damage. So, like this is all good. Quick cooking is fine. He has bubble. There's no one taking damage. It's fine. He starts taking some damage, and then you're not healing. You heal here, and then you just gotta finish this basically. Like in this game, I don't think there's ever a time where you ran out of resource. So, like generally speaking, you're probably not using it enough. Like once you start running out, then you're probably using it too much. But like, you never even really get that low. So like you're always like at like half or something. So like if you're at half, then you're wasting like all of this. Like if you use all of it, then you're kind of maybe in a bad position. Sometimes you still need to use it, but like try to like in situations like this where your main tank is half, like this is really important to keep him up because that lets him swing, that lets him create space, and that lets like him pushing up, you healing him to allow him to push up lets everyone else like Zarya, Genji, Junkrat, it lets everyone do their jobs better, because like the more space that bad rep can create, the more like angles, the more damage, the more everything that everyone else can do. So by enabling him and like making sure he's full, or at least maybe not like all the way full, but like 450 health instead of like 300 here, it just like makes everyone's job so much easier, and it makes your job easier too. Because like once everyone's pushing in, then they're gonna be backing up. They're gonna be blowing cooldowns. You'll be able to right click a bit more. You'll have better positioning for your coal. There's less risk of you being forced out or forced to use fade, like all of that stuff. So this is really important, and especially like healing the armor health is extra effective because it takes less damage as well, right? So if you are healing, like this last part is like pretty far away from dying, but healing like 10 armor health is like worth like healing 13 normal health as well. So it like this is quite important to do.
I'm restoring you.
Okay, good.
Surrender to my will.
And like even so, like one thing is like when you're like really close to coal, you can be more aggressive about burning out on your resource because like once you get there, you'll probably have coal. So then and you can pop it right away and you'll get all your resource back by the time that coal ends. So like especially in this situation, you don't need to be so conservative with healing.
I'm restoring you.
Yeah, like the right click you do like gets you a little bit, but that's not gonna matter.
Surrender to my will.
That's just unlucky, I think. I don't know if they broke his shield.
Restoring you.
Surrender to my will.
No, I don't think they did. He got a bubble, so he was swinging. I mean, I don't know. That's a little bit lucky. You can think of like having slightly better positioning. If you're slightly to the left, then when you hear the shatter, you can go further left and be in cover. Like this thing will block it for you. But you have to be kind of like over past this line because that's kind of the shatter view that he has, right? But I don't know. It's like I wouldn't worry about that one too much. You did die with both cooldowns. So you get Shatter, and you get up, and you have both of these. Yeah, so you have... You can fade to the Mega, you can fade to where Rhine is, and play cart for cover, or these doors for cover, and you can heal yourself. So probably ideally is what you do is you throw heal this way immediately, it starts healing the Rhine, and then you fade over here, and then you can top off the Rhine even more, and the heal ball will come to you and heal you. But you're right-clicking the Genji, who you can't kill by yourself, and, but that's a fight you guys probably lose anyway, because they use 3 ults there, right? So again, like, not the worst thing in the world, but you can still improve on your own play there.
We must all make sacrifices in the name of science.
You guys have Grab Blade coming up, so that can be kind of the call, or that's the plan. Cool of it. Good damage roll. Good. Good. Try not to burn so much of it. Like, to pre-heal, you only need to flash a little bit, until he's taking more damage. So, like, you need to heal once he's taken damage, but you don't need to heal before he takes damage, obviously. Yeah, just like flash a little bit to pre-heal, and you'll get that like healing over time buff on him for like 30 HP. That'll be enough to like take up any like random little splash damage from the Genji or whatever. Right, like he's full here. You're burning health. Okay, so then when they do need heals, you're not healing. Right, this right clicking, it's fine until you see this, and then you need to heal immediately, and then go back to damage once this is no longer a problem. Good checking for this soldier. That's where he was the last time you did it. Okay, good. So that was another case where like they were really low. You killed a bunch of them. You faded forward to heal him, which I really like. That's kind of like with the Zarya earlier when you were on defense. So I think that's really good. But only when you've gotten a bunch of kills. If a bunch of them were still alive, then definitely don't fade forward.
The power of destruction.
Good orb. Oh, not your job to deal with Immo. And it's like pretty well hidden behind the corner. And you already used fade. Oh, and then you fade it. Fade in, which I mean it is kind of safe over here. And there's a mega, but from here you can't help your team until your fade comes back. So that's why it's bad. It's not you're probably not gonna die over here, but you're basically taking yourself out of the fight, like out of this fight for 6 seconds. And then the immo, like, it's important, but at this point, like, if you kind of realize where your team is spaced, I mean, your Rhine's in, but like, you don't need to force it anymore because it's a 5 second. It only lasts 5 seconds now, and by the time like these guys get in, it's gonna be gone basically. So he actually kind of used it too early. So I don't know. Just like in this situation, it's not as important. Like if you guys were like brawling, if like your whole team was here and brawling and they were here and brawling, and they put it up, then I think it is very important because basically you guys can't get any value until it goes down. But in this case, the tempo or like the stage of the fight is still more poking, and if he uses it while you're poking, then you guys can just kind of back off or just keep your Rhino alive and wait it out. There's no pressure for you guys to like kill it because you're not trying to force the fight yet. And so this is fine, but he really needs heals. And again, this is kind of the problem of fading up here is that now you're still stuck and you can't really help him. That's big.
An evolutionary dead end.
That's nice. Part. You could tell your tanks to push one of the doors, basically. And then you should be making the plan to Cole when they come out.
Surrender. I'm on fire. Why? Stay out of my sight. Get into position.
Yes, you need to be in there healing them.
Surrender.
So this is like fine. You're being forced back into Princeton. But then once you start, like he's behind you now, and you can just walk in here. Remember, you have your fade once the goal ends. Maybe the idea was that like once they nanobladed, you guys were gonna give up, or like it was over. But I think it was kind of still winnable. You had gotten in there, you had orb, and you could have healed them maybe through it.
I must reflect upon
But
this.
I mean, you're gonna end up dying anyway, so like, why not try to make the play? I guess.
Come on, let's bring it together.
Okay. And so swapping Lucio to make sure you get back in time, so that's good. You kind of lost your Genji though. You forgot about your Genji. Just hit tab and you'll know when they're spawning. See the timer. Right. So you're here, but you're here with like 7 seconds to spare. So you could have waited the extra like 3 seconds for your Genji. And then this is like too Reddit, I think. And especially, there's not that much reason to like go all the way around there. And like even when you sped, you kind of like ditched your team. So like now only the most forward person is getting your speed. You need to use your amp for the team. Right, like they're getting sped, and then you already ditched the Mei. You ditched whoever the other person back there was. Sorry, Sarah. So I guess the Mercy. I guess Mercy has fly, but like you ditched the Mei. You ditched the Rhino at this point. It's just you and Zarya. And you have 8 seconds. So there's not really any reason to go all the way around here. Where the card is in the front, right? Or like it's not like in the front, but it's like right. It's right in the second arch. So you can, if you just go here, you'll touch it, and you can wait till like there's a couple seconds left, and you can wall ride this wall and just like turn, and then you'll get the touch, and then you can actually back out even. Because when overtime first starts, every retouch is 5 seconds of timer, so you don't need to rush right away. But when you do like this like really long rotation behind, then at best you'll like barely touch it at the very end, right? So it's actually really risky. You might not even get the touch, and the only reason to do this is if you're gonna go on the Ana. But she's like pretty far away, and it's gonna be pretty hard to get to her, like from here. So it doesn't really make sense to do this. Yeah, and then you end up in a kind of weird spot, and you're low, so you die. And your team should still win this, but they just kind of clutched. The other team just kind of clutched it out. Like the Tracer stayed alive long enough that other people spawned, and then you lost it. Or do you get this? Definitely focus targets here. I think going the Anna's here is really good. Just the pure wall ride. Then you didn't see her go past. Unlucky. Oh, still focus the Anna though. She's gonna be most of the sustain. And then they just lived long enough, so that's unlucky. But you know, you kind of like the previous fight. You didn't really get anything done because you went on that really long flank. So I think that was probably the spot where you could like tied it up and then had the overtime fight or the overtime rounds. So yeah, so that's basically it. Again, one is just being more aware of like your teammates and their health status and prioritizing healing when they need it, and then like cooldown stuff. But overall, that was a pretty good game. Like you guys would have won it if not for the C9. So I think it's more unlucky that you lost rather than like major mistakes. But of course, there's always still things that you can fix with it. So.